In the year 1957, a team of explorers set out on an expedition to the remote and treacherous heights of Mount Ararat in Turkey. Their mission was simple: document the geography of the region. But what they stumbled upon would spark one of the greatest mysteries of modern times. At an altitude of 4,400 meters, deep within the rugged terrain, they discovered an unusual structure embedded in the ice and rock. It was massive, spanning over 150 meters in length, and bore an uncanny resemblance to the hull of an ancient ship. Rumors quickly spread. Some claimed it was a natural rock formation, shaped over millennia by the forces of nature. Others, however, believed they had just uncovered one of the most sacred relics in history, the legendary Noah's Ark. As word of the discovery reached the world, both religious scholars and scientists turned their attention to Mount Ararat. Many were skeptical, dismissing the idea as mere myth. However, some researchers insisted that the structure warranted further investigation. What if this was the actual Ark, resting in its final place after the Great Flood? The Turkish government took an interest in the site, allowing limited expeditions to examine the area. As the first photograph surfaced, the world was captivated. But the mystery had only just begun. Despite its massive size and unusual shape, definitive proof remained elusive. No one knew what lay beneath the ice. Was this truly the vessel that had carried Noah, his family, and the animals to safety, as the Bible described? Or was it simply an elaborate natural illusion? Years would pass, and many more expeditions would follow, each uncovering new clues, but also raising more questions. And yet, the discovery on Mount Ararat was only the beginning of a much larger mystery, one that would take decades to unravel. As Dr. Jonathan Carter and his team settled into their base camp near Mount Ararat, the anticipation among the researchers was palpable. The site where the alleged remains of Noah's Ark had been found was now under close scientific scrutiny. Satellite images, geological surveys, and historical accounts all pointed to something unusual buried beneath the ice and rock. The expedition's lead archaeologist, Professor Alara Vaughn, examined a set of ancient manuscripts in their makeshift research tent. These texts, she said, tracing a finger over the faded ink, mention a great vessel resting upon the mountains of Ararat after a catastrophic flood. What if we're about to confirm one of the oldest stories known to mankind? That evening, as the team prepared their equipment for the following day's dig, a discovery sent shockwaves through the camp. One of the field researchers had uncovered a wooden fragment embedded in the rocky terrain. Tests confirmed it was far older than expected, potentially dating back thousands of years. Dr. Carter examined the piece closely. "This could be the breakthrough we've been waiting for," he murmured. If this structure really was submerged in seawater at some point, it would support the idea of a flood of unprecedented scale. But as night fell, a storm rolled in, and strange occurrences began. A distant, low rumbling echoed through the mountains, unlike any natural phenomenon they had ever encountered. The locals in a nearby village warned them, "There are secrets on this mountain that should remain undisturbed." As the wind howled around their tents, Carter and his team knew one thing for certain. This was no ordinary archaeological expedition, and they were only beginning to uncover the truth. The morning after the storm, the expedition team found their campsite eerily quiet. The wind had settled, but an unsettling stillness hung in the air. Dr. Carter and Professor Vaughn wasted no time, leading their team toward the excavation site where the wooden fragment had been discovered. As they descended into the rocky terrain, one of the geologists, Ethan Reyes, noticed something unusual: several large stone anchors scattered around the mountainside. These resemble ancient sea anchors used by early civilizations, he noted, brushing dirt off one of the massive stones. But how did they get this high up? The deeper they dug, the more anomalies surfaced. Pieces of petrified wood, strange markings on the rocks, and remnants of what appeared to be metal fittings, far too advanced for the time period in question. Vaughn meticulously documented each find, her initial skepticism slowly giving way to cautious belief. But the real shock came when they uncovered a vast wooden structure buried beneath layers of ice and sediment. The dimensions matched the descriptions in ancient texts almost perfectly. The team exchanged astonished glances. Could this truly be the remains of Noah's Ark? Before they could investigate further, a sudden tremor shook the ground beneath them. Equipment toppled over, and the team scrambled for stability. What was that? Carter shouted over the noise. It felt like something was shifting deep within the mountain itself. A loud crack echoed from the excavation site, and part of the structure became exposed, a massive weathered doorway, sealed shut for what seemed like millennia. Carved into the wood were symbols none of them recognized. The feeling of unease returned. "We're not the first to find this," Vaughn whispered. "But whoever was here before, they didn't want it to be opened." Carter took a deep breath, staring at the ancient door. They had come searching for the truth, but now he wasn't sure if they were ready for what lay beyond. The team stood frozen before the ancient, sealed doorway. The strange symbols carved into the wood seemed almost to shift under their gaze, as if alive with an unseen energy. Dr. Carter ran a hand over the weathered surface, feeling an unexpected warmth beneath his fingers. "These markings, they don't match any known language," Professor Vaughn murmured, snapping photos for later analysis. Ethan Reyes retrieved a small chisel from his pack and gently tapped at the edges of the door, trying to gauge its integrity. To everyone's surprise, the wood, though thousands of years old, was unnaturally sturdy. "This should have decayed long ago," he muttered, frowning. "Something's preserving it." As the team debated their next move, a gust of icy wind rushed through the excavation site, carrying with it a low, almost melodic hum. The sound reverberated in their bones, sending shivers down their spines. Carter turned sharply. "Did anyone else hear that?" Before anyone could respond, the ground trembled again. This time, the vibrations weren't natural. They felt rhythmic, deliberate. The mountain itself seemed to pulse with an ancient heartbeat. Then, with a sudden groan, the heavy wooden door shifted, just slightly, but enough to send dust and ice cascading down. Vaughn stepped back, fear flickering in her eyes. "Maybe this was sealed for a reason," she whispered. "Maybe we shouldn't." But Carter was already reaching forward, drawn by an unexplainable force. The expedition had started as a search for historical evidence, but now it felt like something much greater was at play. His fingers grazed the door once more, and this time the hum grew louder, surrounding them in an otherworldly resonance. With one final, deafening creak, the door inched open, revealing a darkness deeper than anything they had ever seen. The air that escaped was ancient, carrying a scent of damp earth and something else, something indescribable. The team hesitated at the threshold, staring into the abyss beyond. Whatever secrets Noah's Ark held, they were about to step into the unknown. The darkness beyond the ancient doorway seemed to stretch endlessly, swallowing the dim glow of their flashlights. Dr. Carter took a cautious step forward, his breath shallow as he fought the suffocating weight of the unknown. The air was thick, stale, untouched for millennia. As the team followed, their footsteps echoed eerily against unseen walls. Then, as if responding to their presence, a faint, golden glow pulsed from deep within. The light flickered, revealing massive wooden beams that stretched impossibly far, supporting what appeared to be an enormous, preserved chamber. The sheer scale was staggering. This was no ordinary relic. This was an ark, a structure built for survival on a scale they had never imagined. Professor Vaughn's voice trembled with awe. This is it. This is the proof." Ethan Reyes stepped forward, sweeping his flashlight across the chamber. Strange carvings lined the walls, each depicting scenes of a great flood, animals marching in pairs, and a celestial figure overseeing it all. But it wasn't just the biblical imagery that stunned them. It was the materials. The wood, though ancient, was still intact, as if frozen in time. Carter knelt by one of the beams, running his fingers over its surface. "This wood," he whispered, "it's petrified, but not like anything we've seen before." He pulled out a small knife and scraped the surface, only for the blade to spark slightly, as if striking stone. "This isn't just preservation, it's something else." As the team pressed forward, they stumbled upon a raised platform at the center of the chamber. Resting atop, it was an ornate stone tablet, covered in the same unknown script from the door. Vaughn ran a trembling hand over the symbols. This could predate every known written language, she murmured. But before she could analyze further, the pulsing hum returned, this time stronger. The entire chamber seemed to vibrate with an unseen force. The carvings on the walls seemed to shimmer, as if reacting to their discovery. "We need to go," Ethan urged, glancing nervously at the shaking walls. "This place is waking up." Carter hesitated, torn between discovery and survival. But as dust and debris began to rain down, the decision was made for them. The team turned and ran, retracing their steps through the dark passageway. Just as they crossed the threshold, the heavy door groaned and slammed shut behind them, sealing the chamber once more. They collapsed onto the frozen ground outside, gasping for breath, hearts pounding. The mountain had gone silent again, as if nothing had happened. But they knew the truth. Buried beneath the ice and rock was something far greater than history. As they stood under the cold Turkish sky, Carter exchanged a glance with Vaughn. "We found it," he said. "But are we ready for what comes next?" The world would soon learn the answer. For the full story and more incredible discoveries, visit my channel. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and explore the unknown with me.